At my most pessimistic, I could see it causing the collapse of societies. I thought about this long and hard, actually, probably too hard and too long, because it's just a silly internet video and it doesn't really mean anything.
So I've had quite the week. The weather was great and now it's cold.
Hi everyone. What a beautiful day once again. Oh my word. 19 degrees today apparently is what we'll see. Wow. Anyway, so if I'd been asked a couple of years ago, you have one wish, what would you do with that wish? Well, I mean, this basically would be my wish. So it's kind of funny that I'm literally, and I've said this a lot to people around me, that I'm literally living my dream right now. It's crazy. So if I had one wish, it can't be transitioning, because that's what I'm doing. So what would that wish be? I suppose there are a few things that would come to mind, things that I would like, but also things that I think would also have a bit of a monkey paw impact on the world that I would rather it not have. So I'm going to try to work through my thinking. What is my one wish, if I could have one wish? So first of all, I often go to a wish, because I have these thoughts quite a lot, obviously. I go to the wish everybody gets the body that they've always wanted, because why not be nice to everyone? And by everyone, I mean everybody. I mean, I'm not going to discriminate here. I'm going to allow everyone to get that body. And yeah, I think that would make things quite nice initially. I think a lot of trans and cis people would quite enjoy being in a body that they've always dreamt of. But I think about the long-term implications of this, because first of all, I'm assuming that that body is going to be quite young and it's going to be, you know, traditionally attractive. So that I can see causing problems. What kind of problems, I hear you ask? Well, it's great that you asked that question, because I'm going to explain myself. So imagine you've got a young, attractive population. Everywhere you go, everyone is beautiful or handsome or gorgeous or whatever. Well, that's going to be a problem for them as they age, because if you've got used to this dream body of yours, you don't retain that forever. At some point, age catches up with you. I can imagine there being quite a lot of unhappiness as that happens. And not only that, but everybody may well hit a kind of old age almost simultaneously. So that's going to place an enormous strain on social structures. And then you've got the next generation who didn't benefit from my wish. Well, are they going to be as gorgeous as their parents and grandparents? Or are they going to have to deal with being unattractive in a world where everybody up to that point has not been? That's a problem, you know. In fact, at my most pessimistic, I could see it causing the collapse of society. So, okay, we're not going to get perfect bodies, I'm afraid, everybody. That's off the table. So, okay. So if we're not going to do that, then how about money? That would be good, because I'm pretty broke. So what about that? So, okay, I could give myself $1 million or $1 billion or whatever, but fuck it, let's go all out, give myself infinite money. Because that's basically infinite power, isn't it? I could do whatever I wanted. I could literally buy up countries and governments and all sorts. I could try to invest in infrastructure and social services to make people's lives better. What could possibly go wrong? It sounds like, at face value, a perfect solution. It's almost like having infinite wishes, because you can mold everything to your whim. But again, I pause, because you can see the kind of effect of having a lot of money has on people. I mean, look at some of the examples of billionaires in the world today. It seems to have this necessarily corrupting effect on people. They become isolated and weird and insulated from regular people, and I kind of like people. You know, I don't want to be isolated from them. I don't want to be unable to connect with people because I'm living in fear of somebody coming along and holding me captive or something. So I don't know. And beyond that, I can imagine, because I'm quite naive, I will accept that a lot of the things that I try to do are going to have some kind of unintended consequences. So let's say, for example, I wanted to improve the lives of people living in Lagos. And so I invested in infrastructure, I invested in building works, I invested in the country, in the city, to uplift the entire people. Well, not all of that money is going to go where I want it to go to. Some of that money is going to go to corrupt people or to bad people. And this isn't, I chose Lagos just as a offhand example. The same thing would be seen if I was trying to uplift people in Hull or Gary, Indiana, or something like that. It's inevitable. You will see people taking advantage of these situations and circumstances. I don't think, yes, I might improve the lives of people on average, but I may well be contributing to an escalation of an unequal distribution of wealth. And I hate that. It's one of my least favorite things. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to contribute to what I see as one of the worst things to be happening to the world at the moment. And I certainly don't want to lose contact with people at large. So as much as infinite money or even $1 billion sounds, I can't help but see the negative impact of that will have on myself and that will have on society and culture at large. So infinite money off the table, I'm afraid. So what then? No perfect body, no infinite money. What can I do? So I thought about this long and hard, actually probably too hard and too long, because it's just a silly internet video and it doesn't really mean anything. But I think I arrived on the thing that I would most like to see. If I had a wish, if I had one wish, if there was one thing that I could do, and that would be for people to see a humanity in each other. And I think this is something that it's had an impact on everybody. Whoever you are, you have been affected by people coming in and seeing you for your words and for your lifestyle, let's say, rather than for you as a person. And that's really bad. Imagine, if you will, a world where online discourse, for instance, people come in and when they talk about things which they have different views or different experiences of, it doesn't become a kind of a competition to see which is right and which is wrong. It becomes a sort of a celebration, an investigation into the differences that people can have. And even though we're different, we still share that base humanity. We can see a kind of kinship in that other person, despite the fact they're so different to you. Imagine companies and corporations being led by CEOs and leaders who recognize the struggles of every single individual worker that is below them and striving to make the lives of those people better, rather than just striving to improve the profits of that organization. Imagine a society where leaders and politicians don't divide their society and they see their role as being looking for opportunities to support those on the margins and those who are most vulnerable. We don't see disabled people or the elderly or anybody like that as drains on the economy. They're not useless eaters. They are people who need support. And we see that humanity in those people, in that group of people, and we provide them with the support we need. We give homeless people somewhere to go, and we don't worry about, are they going to be spending it on drugs or whatnot? They need help. And so we give them that help. That would be amazing. And to be honest, one other thing that kind of worries me about this wish giving kind of thing is that Imagine if other people also get wishes, okay? So if everybody else also gets a wish, and I wished for infinite money for myself, well, what's to stop other people from also having infinite money and doing the same kind of things that I am? We're necessarily going to be in conflict. We're going to be at war with each other, I would imagine. But with this, if everybody sees a slice of humanity in each and every person they encounter, in every face they see, I don't see how any wish thereafter can have anything but positive effects. Because each wish, as I see it, would be a wish for humanity to improve. It's not just going to become a selfish kind of response. What do I want? But it's more about what do we want? What do we need as a collective? So that's the wish that I would make. Absolutely, without question or hesitation. So I guess over to you. What would you wish for? And I'd love to hear your workings as well. You know, why would you make that wish? Why would you see that as something that you especially want? You've got this power, this responsibility to wish for something, for anything. So what's it going to be? And by the way, you might have noticed that I haven't wished for things like an end to death or disease or anything like that. And I could do, I suppose. But an end to death, again, would be quite wild. You get everybody sort of existing until the heat death of the universe, so that doesn't sound like much fun, to be honest. And disease, yeah, I guess maybe that would be a good thing too. But I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna go with my thing, to be honest. So anyway, I'm gonna pivot now to life updates and comments of the week. So first of all, some life updates. So it's been a difficult week, I have to say. Work has been a lot for me to deal with. And as most of you who've been following this channel for a while know, my company is looking to make redundancies. And as far as I can see, it's becoming increasingly difficult to see a future for me in this company, regardless of whether or not I survive this round of redundancies. It's been an incredibly frustrating few months. I've seen projects that I've been working on for several years just completely collapse because they've had their budgets revoked, and it's really dispiriting to feel that all of the work that I've been putting in to, this, that and the other just completely fall apart. It's incredibly demoralizing. More than that, this is the second round of redundancies that we've had in a few years, and I remember the difficulties of the last time, and that was really tough, and very few people have actually kind of psychologically recovered from that. And so a lot of the people that went through that are now going through this one, and we've all got our minds going back to that time and just how difficult that was, and just the fact that we've had to go through this again. I mean, are we going to be in the same position in a couple of years' time? It's tough. Like, we're literally going to be saying goodbye to friends and colleagues that we've known for years, in my case decades, and it's really hard to bear. I really don't want to leave, because I feel that, especially the location that I work in, it's become a kind of a home for me. It's where I've found support and friendship and, well, love. And it's going to break my heart to leave. And that's true of so many other people as well. And I know that none of us have any kind of right to loyalty from whichever company we work for. And that's certainly increasingly true these days. But it just feels so inhuman. And this was kind of exacerbated on Wednesday when I saw that my name in Outlook and on Teams had reverted, or not even reverted, had changed to my, let's say, legal name, which is not the name I go by. And it's not a name that I've gone by at work, like, ever in the 13 or however many years I've been working there for. It just literally popped up on my screen. And it wasn't so much the fact that now every time anybody sent me an email or every time I went into an online meeting, my legal name, as in not my name, would be there for all to see.
that was kind of annoying, but I think in the past I would have just kind of laughed and shrugged it off as a sort of unfortunate coincidence. But for me, it was just another indication of the fact that we've got systems and processes in our company which seems to be designed to almost operate against the people. Because this isn't just me that this would have affected. Anybody who's changed their legal names to a preferred name would have had the same. In fact, I know they had exactly the same experience. And so that's really bad for everybody. There's a reason why we've changed our names. And it could be just, it's a nickname that we prefer, or it could be something which is a lot more meaningful to that person. And so it really did trigger a lot of dissatisfaction, let's say. And so I needed to take Thursday off, basically, because I just crumbled. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, let's put it that way. So work is really difficult for me. And so that's made it kind of hard for me to respond to a lot of the comments that have come my way, because it's just been too much. It's been too much. And so if any of you feel kind of shortchanged by some of the responses that I've made over this week, that's kind of why. But at the same time, moving on to my comments of the week, I feel that I did bring it upon myself, the sorts of comments that I got last week, and it's fine. I don't mind those sorts of comments because, as I say, I don't see myself in those perspectives. And I did try to engage, and I was trying to do this from the perspective of the question that I asked in the last video. Like, what is the thinking? Why do people come to my channel with that sole purpose and intention of hurting me? Even if you don't actually think that your questions are going to be harmful, you have to understand that a lot of the time the tone that's being used, so this sort of accusatory sort of tone, that is a harmful way of engaging in a conversation. It's not especially friendly. It's not especially trusting. So that's really difficult for me to deal with, especially when you couple that with the fact that I'm kind of struggling psychologically at work as well. And so I kind of threw up my hands, but also it inspired my video from today, because for me, it's that lack of recognition of humanity that seems to be driving these conversations. It's triggering this disconnection from each other. I try my best to perceive every single one of you on the other side of these screens as an actual real person with, real feelings and a history that's brought you to this place. And it feels very much like that same grace isn't afforded people like myself. Then let's just follow these kind of thought processes through to their final conclusions. So over the last week, I've included actually little snippets of my week's activities in this video, as I usually do. That I went window shopping. I went, to various stores. I went to my favorite shop, that is Risk. I didn't actually buy anything there because it's super expensive and I couldn't quite justify spending that much money on a skirt and a top, which, even though they were super cute, there's no way I could afford that. No way. But everywhere that I went, and increasingly where I go these days, I'm being referred to as Miss, as Lady, as Her, by absolute strangers. They have no reason to gender me correctly. They've got no skin in the game. They're going with their first instincts. And I don't think it's necessarily them lying. It's just how they perceive me. And you know what happened when they referred to me that way? You know what happened when I went into the changing rooms to try on these outfits? Nothing. Nothing happened. The other person didn't end up exploding in embarrassment. I didn't attack anybody anywhere. The world continued spinning. Nobody's existence was called into question. Whoever called me Miss went about their day. It was a regular day, a regular Saturday. Nothing untoward happened to anybody. That's our end goal. That's the end point of our conversation. It's that we can be integrated into society and people treat us with respect and dignity. That's our end goal. However, if you look at the end point of a lot of people who come to us with critical questioning, what's their end goal? Is it similarly morally neutral, or does it actually have, at the end of it, several million people having to live in increased suffering and states of unhappiness? Now, I'm not accusing you necessarily of having that kind of endpoint in mind when you come and ask these questions, but you need to understand this is what we're dealing with on a daily basis. Anyway. Yeah. So I've had quite the week. The weather was great and now it's cold. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for those of you who've stuck it out. If you would like to support me, thank you very much to those of you who've supported me so far. I really, really appreciate it. Even a small amount makes a huge difference to me. Even liking and subscribing or whatever you do with this video, even if you comment down below, even if it's not something positive, that's great. I appreciate everything that you have to say, but at the same time, just acknowledge the humanity in me, please. So yeah, if you'd like to support me, I've got a buy me a coffee. I'll put the details here and in the comment section down below. Sorry, in the description down below. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful week. I hope that your week is better than my week last week, and I'll see you same time next week. Goodbye.